Welcome back to the channel. This is Brandon here. Going to be doing my second team of this MLB The Show 24 franchise mode. And we got the Pittsburgh Pirates and the St. Louis Cardinals last time. Tried, made some moves, just didn't work. I'm going to try to make this video a little bit more shorter. I just got under the hour mark in the last video. So let's take a look at the roster. Starting rotation, we got Mitch Keller, who's been pretty good for them as a guy they have a lot of high hopes for. Johan Oviedo, former Cardinal, who's really been good when healthy for them. Paul Skeens, obviously their top pitching prospect. He'll definitely be making some noise in this franchise for us. They got Marco Gonzalez, who really has battled some injuries and just inconsistencies. Hopefully he can bounce back. Martin Perez, Eric Lauer. They really tried to sign some veterans to fill out this rotation or have a shot at making the rotation. JT Brubaker, a guy really pitched well a few years ago. Not well, but like solid, and just hasn't been able to stay healthy or put up consistency. Bailey Falter, another guy they're high on. So the pitching's not amazing, but you see potential, and especially Paul Skeens. Pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize if I ain't. The bullpen needs a lot of work. Obviously, they signed Aroldis Chapman, and he's 36, so he's going to drop an overall. Dari Moreta, only 27, so he could still be something. He's had good numbers throughout his career. They got Colin Holderman. I remember he used to play for the Yankees, so that's how I know him. Ryan Baroque. So they got some names you recognize. Contreras is a guy who hasn't really worked out yet for them, but 2022 he was pretty good. So they got some potential. Obviously, David Bednar is their key piece in the rotation bullpen, excuse me. He is lights out. Look at his numbers the last 3 seasons. Had close to 40 saves last year, ERA of 2. Hopefully he can lead us to a World Series. Henry Davis, catcher they're high on. They signed Grandal to be his backup. Rowdy Tellez, another veteran they signed. Nick Gonzalez, they don't really have a second baseman that's looking to take the reins. Brian Hayes, Gold Glove third baseman. He's an incredible athlete. A big fan of him. O'Neal Cruz, another electrifying young player. Brian Reynolds, another guy they signed to an extension, was rumored to be traded, and then he signed an extension, so that was interesting. And Jack Sawinski, a guy who's shown some power, had 26 home runs last year, 19 the year before, and then Kutch back in Pittsburgh, signed another 1-year deal, probably going to retire a Pirate. So this team has potential. Now, the Pirates don't spend a lot of money, but they're a team that, has been spending more money. And obviously they hired, can't think of his name, they hired the new general manager of VIP, president of baseball operations, who wants to make more moves. Now, like I said the last clip, they haven't put Blake Snell on the Giants yet. Like if I really wanted to, I can go out and maybe sign a Michael Lorenzen. Like I'm not gonna sign a Montgomery or a Snell. Maybe Montgomery to be in this rotation, possibly. I feel like he's not gonna command a lot of money, and the Pirates don't have a huge payroll, so that could be something we look to do. Or Michael Lorenzen, and then bullpen, maybe we sign a Cisnero, add him to the team. So let's see how much money Montgomery wants, right? So let's say we sign him to a 1-year, $10.5 million deal. We got to get somebody off the roster. I'll do all that before I get started with the season. But like we signed, Montgomery and Cisnero. Brandon Belt would be an interesting option, even though Rowdy Tellez is 6 years younger. Evan Longoria, we got third baseman. JD Martinez would be good. Tommy Pham's still a free agent. Adam Duvall and Michael Taylor signed with teams. I just don't think they've upgraded it yet, or updated it yet, I should say. Kyle Lewis was a guy a few years ago. I had a lot of hope for Kyle Lewis. I thought he was going to be really good. Just hasn't really stayed healthy or hit at the major league level. So I'll go ahead and make those moves. I'll let you guys know what they are, and we'll get this franchise underway. The MLB draft happened. These are some of the players we ended up picking. Oswaldo Madrid is the first pick we made in the first round. Really could be solid for us in these 3 seasons. Hopefully he develops quick. Top 4 pick, and we also got Miguel Rodriguez, another pitcher, this one a relief pitcher, who was projected to go top 12 in the draft. So we ended up snagging 2 really good players. Harry Perez, another guy, top 100 pick, could be good in left field. His character model looks weird, but hey, if he could play, then so be it. J.J. Brantley, another starting pitcher we picked. Dennis Egan, and then Sean Walsh. We picked a lot of pitching in this, and then Cleveland Doty was our last pick. So hopefully some of these guys pan out. We get some good draft picks. Our season, though, I will say, hasn't really went well. I will show you guys how that looks at the trade deadline. Trade offer from the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, I put some players on the trade block just to see if we'd get any, offers that really caught my eye or anything. Phil Maton, who is really not having a fantastic year, but we need some bullpen help. He's a free agent after the year. Maybe we can re-sign him for Connor Joe, who's not having a bad year, but he's not really a long-term piece. So I'm going to go ahead and trade Connor Joe for Phil Maton. Very good trade for us. Trade deadline, and look at our record: 47 and 60, 22 and a half games back. It ain't looking good for us. The Cardinals are just running away with the division, 70 and 38. Just not looking good for us. And to catch you guys up on pretty much what happened, we ended up signing Jordan Montgomery. He ended up getting hurt like 2 weeks into the season. David Bednar ended up getting hurt, and we all know how important he is to this Pirates team. So those two are like big time injuries to our team. We ended up trading Marco Gonzalez for Yanoa, which he's hurt right now, but he's only 25, was pitching good in the minor leagues, so maybe he could be a future starter for us, or maybe somebody who pitched out of the bullpen. We ended up calling up Paul Skeens, and he's pitched solid so far. He's not in the rotation, he's just pitching in a long relief role. Yeah, he's 1-6, but he's been pretty solid for a rookie. And really, we're not competing this season, it's clear. So maybe we look to sell some guys, to other teams, like maybe a Durati Terlez. He's only on a 1-year deal anyways. First base is definitely something we need to look at in the offseason. Second base is definitely a position. I mean, yeah, G1 Bay and Nick Gonzalez could still develop. They're both only 24. Maybe they could develop into something, but both of them haven't really played that well so far this season. So let's look how everybody's been doing. Jared Triello, I think I'm pronouncing that right, having a very solid season. 7 home runs, 21 RBIs, 273 batting average, now leadoff spot. Not a bad year at all. Then Kutch dropping a little bit overall, but having a really good year, actually. 13 home runs, 43 RBIs, 280, slugging over 400. Good to see from Kutch. Brian Reynolds having another good year, 18 home runs, 52 ribbies, 290 average, slugging over 500 too. So Brian Reynolds has really been what we expect him to be coming into the season. O'Neal Cruz having a solid year, not spectacular, but he's probably going to have a career year regardless this year, so that's good to see. Jack Sawinski, the power hasn't really been there, but the average is good. The slugging's solid. The on-base percentage is a career high, so he's getting on base. If he gets that power going a little bit, he definitely could have a really good year. Ke'Bryan Hayes put up about typical Ke'Bryan Hayes numbers. He's more known for his glove, but he definitely could still, get on base and help us out. Could see a little bit more power eventually from him, which he's only 27, so you definitely can see that eventually. Yasmani Grandal, not really anything special, but he's kind of just a stopgap for Henry Davis, or platooning with him, I should say, right now. And Rowdy Tellez not having a bad year at all. It's really crazy. Rowdy Tellez, 2022 had 35 home runs with the Brewers. It looked like he was going to be like an everyday guy for them. And then last year, he just didn't have really a solid year at all. And now he's in Pittsburgh. Interesting career for him. Peguero, not too bad at all, especially for a guy who ain't playing every day. And Henry Davis in the platoon role playing pretty solid. He's not playing every day, doesn't have to play every day. Him and, Grandal could split the catching duties, and maybe we give him the full-time reins next season. G1 Bay, not really doing anything spectacular, but he's only had 5 at-bats. Edward Olivares, solid, not playing a lot, but when he has, he's produced. And Nick Gonzalez has just struggled badly so far. And need to fix his roster. They have 3 catchers on the roster, so I'll fix that. Go on to the trade deadline. If I do any big trades, I'll show you guys and get off the next season. Hopefully we can get this team turned around. So ended up shipping Rowdy Tellez out. He was on an expiring deal like I was showing you earlier. So we get Genesis Cabrera from the Blue Jays, and he hasn't pitched at the major leagues this season, but he definitely will get an opportunity with us. He's our 4th best relief pitcher now, and the bullpen's definitely something we need to revamp. He's still young enough to, develop. And, we've had some interesting bullpen pieces, but I forgot to show you guys the rotation. So before I get going, my bad on that, but let me go ahead and show you guys the rotation. Mitch Keller having an okay year, not really anything spectacular. So Paul Skeens is in the rotation. Sorry, my game locked up for a sec. Johan Oviedo having a very good season, 10-6, 3.93 ERA. Good to see that. He's going up in overall too. And then Paul Skeens, so he is in the rotation, 1-6. Definitely could be a lot better. Maybe we put Martin Perez in the spot and let him just pitch out of the bullpen. Martin Perez not really having a good year. Bailey Falters, solid. And Jordan Montgomery's been pretty much what we hoped. He just hasn't pitched a lot this season because of the injuries. Well, he started 20 games. I shouldn't say he hasn't pitched, but he's only pitched 60 innings. So Jordan Montgomery's definitely the ace of this rotation. But everything else right now, we definitely need a third and fourth starter, but we could have Paul Skeens be in the rotation next season and have it be Mitch Keller, Oviedo, Montgomery, Skeens, and the fifth starter we sign out of free agency or trade for. So that could be a possibility. And it says Cabrera hasn't pitched yet. Moreda's been very good so far, 3.44 ERA. Colin Holderman's been very good, 3.21 ERA. Rodas Chapman's just been horrible. Maybe he's the guy we'd look to trade. Won't get anything back for him that's meaningful, but he's on an expiring deal as well. Jose Hernandez, we called him back up. He hasn't been good this year. Larry Cochran, I think that's how you pronounce it. We signed him at a free agency. He was like a 28-year-old, 73 overall. We needed some bullpen. So I said, you know what? Let's bring him in. He ended up being our closer for a while with Bednar out, and he's put up really good numbers. 14 saves, 0-3 record, 1.71 ERA though. You gotta love to see that. And then Phil Maton, been very good for us as well. Looks like we got too many pitchers now, so we need to send someone down, which we might just trade Chapman to open up a spot. And then David Bednar's been good when he's been healthy. So we're gonna finish out this season. I'll let you guys know if I can find anything for Aroldis Chapman, and we're finished off this season. Finding an offer for Aroldis Chapman, and it's a second baseman. He's 21 years old. Hey-Yo Lee from the Tigers. Going to go ahead and do this trade. This ain't a bad trade at all. So we end up trading off Chapman, and we open up another spot. We'll see, but I'll see you guys at the end of the season. End up making the playoffs. We end up finishing 67-95. Just not a very good first season. We got 2 seasons to get this going, though. It's going to be a tough grind. We'll have a hell of an offseason to get this team turned around. Let's see how everybody did. Brian Hayes, not really a great year, but I mean, it's around what he usually puts up when it comes to numbers, but he still could get it going next season, hopefully a bounce back year. Jared Trielo's low-key turned into a everyday type of player, at least a platoon player for it. Had a really good year. 8 home runs, 36 RBIs, 278 average. Brian Reynolds putting up Brian Reynolds numbers. Can't complain about that. Another solid season for him. 23 home runs for O'Neal Cruz, career high, so that power is definitely continues to develop, and hopefully next year he can be another big bat in our lineup again. Jack Sawinski putting up 19 home runs, nothing wrong with that. He definitely got the power going in the second half. Yasmani Grandal, 16 home runs. Won't bring him back because he's just going to keep dropping, so we'll have to look for another backup catcher. I think we have a catcher actually who's like a 72 overall, so he might be our backup for Henry Davis. Andrew McCutchen, 20 home runs. Even though he's 37, still showing that power, so that's good to see. Andy Rodriguez, that's the other catcher I was talking about. He's playing first base. He can play all over the diamond. He's just getting some experience, so he might be our backup catcher next year. 7 home runs, 24 RBIs, only hit 226. Not really known for his bat, more of a defensive guy. Peguero had a solid year, 10 home runs, 50 RBIs, played more. He's going to continue to develop, only 23. And let's see our bench. Henry Davis didn't really have a great year. Improvement over last year, though, but the slugging was up. On base was down just a little bit. Hopefully he just continues to develop. He's only 24, so he'll definitely continue to develop as we go along. Edward Olivares, solid year, 278 average, 6 home runs off the bench. Nick Gonzalez just didn't have a good year. I don't get how his overall even went up when he had this horrible year, because sometimes guys have good years and their overalls go down, so I don't understand that. And then, not sure who this guy even is. I guess he's like a shortstop we had up in the minor leagues. Toos Che Ching. Not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but he didn't even play a game. Let's take a look at the pitching. Mitch Keller had an okay year, really around where his career numbers are usually at. Johan Oviedo, really a good year. I mean, not a horrible year. ERA a little bit over 4, but not a bad year for him. Martin Perez, won't bring him back. Just a horrible year for Martin Perez. 6.08 ERA. Wow. That is just not what you want to see. Bailey Falter, ERA over 4. I mean, a lot of higher ERAs. Jordan Montgomery ended up doing what we needed him to do, though. He had the best ERA on the starting rotation staff, as he should. Paul Skeens for his first year, not the greatest season, but just getting that major league experience at age 21. He'll definitely be somebody in our rotation next year. Genesis Cabrera, not a great start to his Pirates tenure, but definitely will bring him back. He's still young, so he'll definitely have a role with us. Luis Ortiz was not good. Hopefully he can bounce back. Moreta was solid, 3.43 ERA, 3-2 record. Colin Holderman was really good out of the bullpen. That's good to see. Larry Cochran, 2.04 ERA, 16 saves, 3-1 record. Gotta love to see that. Phil Maton was solid for us. A little bit down from last year, but he didn't pitch as much innings. And then David Bednar saves 22 games, high ERA. Hopefully he can bounce back next year. Not that it was a horrible year, but definitely not used to, or the numbers he's used to putting up in a Pirates uniform. So we got some work to do. Let's see who wins this World Series so we can get on with this offseason and get this team right. Because it was just a horrible. The Dodgers beat the Yankees, not surprised there. Any big names retiring? Don't look like any big-time names. So I'm going to go ahead and re-sign, do all this free agent negotiations, review staff, and I will show you guys free agency and what our plan is. Free agency, and really my game plan for free agency is to get this team some bullpen help and maybe a first baseman. Well, not even maybe. We need a first baseman, and maybe add some depth pieces. I mean, we got some pieces that, our rotation's not bad. If we had maybe even like what could be our fifth starter, even though he's coming off a big injury, or Eric Lauer, our bullpen definitely could use a piece or two. Like catcher, Henry Davis we definitely need first base, probably second base, unless we let Tamar Johnson take over the reins. But we are trying to at least have a successful team or get to the World Series or try to do something with this team. So we're trying to do a quick turnaround. But the Pirates don't spend a lot of money. But this roster isn't bad. If we can get a right fielder, a second baseman, a first baseman, a bullpen piece, and maybe a starter, I think we'll be fine. We'll at least be a playoff team. So I'll let you guys know how the offseason goes. Agency is over. We made some moves. We ended up signing Gleyber Torres to be our everyday second baseman. I know we had a lot of young second basemen in the system, but Gleyber Torres, we got him for a solid deal, $14.8 million per year for the next 2 years. He's coming off of a good year, really needed some power in this lineup, so we ended up adding him. We ended up adding Tyler O'Neill as well to our team. Not really a crazy deal. I mean, $5.3 million per year for the next 3 years isn't really crazy. He has his power. He's coming off a down year. Tyler O'Neill, really, when he was with the Cardinals, I thought he was going to have a lot of hope, and he still can. He's still only 29, but just got to stay healthy. He still can hit 25 to 30 home runs when he's healthy. So really, position player-wise, we had a Gleyber Torres, Tyler O'Neill. We made a trade, and one of the guys we got in this trade was Patrick Bailey. I know I said Henry Davis is going to be our everyday catcher, and he can still split time. Patrick Bailey could face righties, and Henry Davis could face lefties, two young catchers. We could give playing time to both of them. So I thought that was a really good deal. We ended up losing our other catcher. And in the bullpen, we went out and added Carlos Estevez. We ended up losing Phil Maton. A lot of teams were betting on him. Estevez coming off a really good year, though. I thought this was a cheap deal. Got him for $5.1 million. Thought it was a good deal. He's coming off a solid year. And we ended up getting Jordan Hicks in the trade, which he's not on a really bad deal either. So we really got our rotation: Montgomery, Keller, Oviedo, Hicks, Skeens. And you know what? I tempted. Okay, do we put in the bullpen, or do we put him in the rotation? He's coming off a major injury, trying to be a little bit more realistic. So let's put him in the bullpen, have him be our long relief pitcher. And if he pitches really well and someone struggles, he can get in our rotation. So I thought that was a really good deal. We still got Eric Lauer and guys who, in one prospect we have Jared Jones, who really could develop into a long relief pitcher as well, or maybe another starter. So this team has potential. Is this a World Series team? I don't think so, but it's definitely a playoff team and improving what we have. We also signed Joey Gallo. I'm sorry, I skipped over Joey Gallo. We also signed Joey Gallo to be our first baseman, $5 million a year. We didn't really spend a bunch of money. I guess for the Pirates, I guess you could say we did, but we didn't spend a ton of $100 million contracts and all that other stuff. So this team could be a playoff team. It just depends how we blend together. With the Cardinals, if you guys saw my last one, we either hit and didn't pitch, or we pitched and didn't hit. And hopefully this team don't have the same thing go on. So I'm going to go ahead and simmer the draft, and we'll see where we're at. Drafting a closer, top 3 pick, Julian Ferris. He should be something, 80 to 99 potential, so he really could be a big-time get for us, especially if we trade Bednar in the future or anything. And then we end up picking Patrick Tanana, a right fielder. Hopefully he turns into something for us. He's from Japan. And then Johnny Dahl, relief pitcher, could be something as well. 84 highest potential. We got Donald Tanaka, another player from Japan, highest 86 potential. So some of these guys have big potential. DeAndre Regan, 99 potential is highest. So a lot of these players, Oliver Walsh and Alex Avalos, also shortstop and relief pitcher. So this is a really good draft, it looks like, for us. So hopefully some of these guys are able to contribute before we end the franchise next season. We're in second place, only 5 games above 500. The Cardinals once again are just running away with the division. Everybody else though was pretty bunched up. 7.5, 8 back, 9.5, 11.5. So everybody else is kind of just sitting around 500 or a little bit over 500, a little bit below it. Let's see how everybody's been doing and why we've been struggling so much. So Jared Triolo, the power's up. The batting average, slugging, and OPS is all down. So hopefully he can turn around the second half. Keep Brian Hayes definitely showing improvement in the power department. Definitely gonna have a career year when it comes to home run power. So that's good to see. Gleyber Torres ended up having a huge injury for us, and injuries have just not been our friend. I think another player, big time player, got injured for us as well. Trying to remember who it was. Somebody. Oh yeah, O'Neal Cruz. He got injured for us as well. He's out 1 to 2 months with a hand fracture. So injuries have just been tormenting us these last 2 years, and these last 2 seasons, and it's just not been fun. But let me go back to the lineup. Gleyber Torres. I mean, he's only played 52 games, but I mean, hopefully he can turn around, at least give us a 25 home run campaign. Joey Gallo's been a pleasant surprise. 29 home runs. He's even hitting 285, slugging over 500, OPS over 300. Joey Gallo's having a career year almost with us, at least when it comes to like all his overall numbers, and it's good to see. We need some power in this lineup. Ryan Reynolds, not a bad year, probably going to have around his typical numbers. Jack Sawinski, going to have probably a career year when it comes to power. It's good to see. He's already almost passed his numbers from last season. Tyler O'Neill, just not a very good year. I don't know what it is about Tyler O'Neill, right? He's never good in franchise. I don't know what it is about Tyler O'Neill. I don't know if it's the stats they give him or he's just a curse or what. I had him on some of my teams last year in MLB The Show, and he just never put up good numbers in franchise. Not really sure why. Patrick Bailey, think he was hurt for a little bit beginning of the season. Not putting up bad numbers, just not really spectacular. And Mitch Webb, who ended up getting called up for O'Neal Cruz, not really playing bad for a rookie, so that's good to see. Henry Davis is having a really good year, 294 average. Hung Yu Lee, not really doing anything special. Josh Palacios having an okay season off the bench, and then Edward Olivares is also having an okay season. So let's check out the pitching. Jordan Montgomery, once again, putting up good numbers. Pitching like our ace. It's good to see. He's a free agent after the year. We might have to negotiate and try to keep him for that final season of this franchise. Mitch Keller having a solid season, about where his numbers usually are. He's just one of them guys who you know what you're going to get when you throw him out there every 5 days. Johan Oviedo having another good season. Record might not show it, but he's having a really good year. Jordan Hicks just has not been good. And Jordan Hicks is another guy in franchise. And maybe it's former Cardinals. I don't know. But he's just another guy in franchise where it's just like I always get Jordan Hicks, and he just never pitches that good for me. I don't know whether he's a relief pitcher, a closer, or a starter. It's just always weird numbers. It's like certain players are just curses for me, I guess. And then Paul Skeens not really having a terrible year. I mean, ERA could be a little bit better, but he's improving. It's good to see. Contreras out of the bullpen's been pretty good. ERA under 4. And Noah's ERA definitely could be a lot better. Genesis Cabrera, around what his typical career numbers have been, ERA around 4, over 4. Colin Holderman definitely having a down year compared to last year. Not horrible, but definitely not what he was last year. Estevez is having not a very good year either, limited innings, but still hasn't been great. Kochman having a horrible year as well. Not a horrible year, but just compared to last year, it's like, wow, what a number. ERA's up over almost over 2. And then Moreda's having not as good as a year as well. And then David Bednar's been lights out. So you really look at it, and our bullpen hasn't been as good. The rotation's been solid besides Jordan Hicks and Skeens and Skeens could be a little bit better, but our bullpen just ain't looking good. A lot of higher ERAs, not horrible ERAs, just high ERAs. So we can make a playoff push. So let's see what's on the trade block here. So I'm not seeing anything yet, which I've only gone through a few teams. We really could use some bullpen help, I think. Really could make a difference if there's any good relief options on the trade block. Jorge Alcala, 29, pitching in the minor leagues, has been good down there. Does he really move the needle for us out of the bullpen, though? James Karishchik, I can never pronounce his name. Karinchek, I think I'm pronounced that right, I don't know. He's been very good. He could be an option for us. He's got another year. He'll be signed to this whole franchise. That could be an interesting pickup. So I'm going to see what they want for James Karinchak. So let's take a look. Edward Olivares, Tyler O'Neill, Luis Ortiz, Hung-Yo Lee, Thomas Harrington, and Oswaldo Madrid, who we drafted last year. So let's see. Do we have a lot of outfielders? We have a good amount of outfielders, but we don't really have a lot of outfield depth. That really, like, if we have a big injury, it really wouldn't be a good idea. Tyler O'Neill, I wouldn't give him up for him. That don't really seem like a smart move. I'm gonna give up Thomas Harrington for him because I feel like that's a good deal. Don't know what other moves I'm really gonna make. I mean, we have to send somebody down as well. So I mean, Contreras. I mean, Estevez might be the odd man out, unfortunately. I mean, I don't really know who else gets sent down. So we add him to our bullpen. You know, the bullpen hopefully is better. I mean, I don't really know what major moves we can really make that really change our whole team. I mean, there's some good, don't get me wrong, there's some good names on this list. I just don't know if any of them fit what we need right now. We need relief pitching. Our lineup's not horrible. It's just, I just feel like the pitching is what we need. And, you know, we can go out and get maybe a Josh Lau, keep him in this franchise. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad move. Maybe try to upgrade over Tyler O'Neill, who's not been very good. So let's see what package we can offer for Josh Lau. Maybe we give up a young shortstop. I mean, he is a high overall, 85. They got Juan Soto, so they probably won't want to give him up, which is crazy. The Rays got Juan, so they would never spend that kind of money. Let's see. Maybe give up a deep potential first baseman. I'm going to go ahead and do that trade. So we get an upgrade over Tyler O'Neill in right field. Don't have to worry about right field and free agency. I like this move. He's not having a horrible year. The power's not been there, but he's still probably going to give up 20 or get 20 home runs. So I like this move. So I'm going to send it into the season, and we'll see how we're looking. Season, unfortunately, we played worse in the second half, which is unfortunate. We ended up finishing last in the division. We were second at the All-Star break. Everything was bunched together, but man, maybe some of the moves we made weren't smart. Let's see how everybody did it. Josh Lowe, 20 home runs in that leadoff spot. I will take that. He's definitely going to be a big piece for our final season. Jared Trielo, not a bad year. Definitely not the numbers he put up last year, especially like average and OPS. Gleyber Torres, 25 home runs. No problem with that. Joey Gallo with 38 home runs, had a career year, even hit for average. Brian Reynolds ended up putting up a solid year. Jack Sawinski. We have a lot of guys with 20 home runs. Brian Hayes was close to 2018. 253 average. Patrick Bailey, I mean, not really terrible. About where his numbers are. O'Neal Cruz was hurt a lot of the year, but still put up solid numbers. Let's see how our bench did. Mitch Jebb ended up putting up solid numbers. 11 home runs, 46 already at 262. Henry Davis had a solid year. He's not a power guy. Not known for his offense, more contact hitter, and he's at 306. Eddie's Leonard, not sure who that is. I guess he's like some young shortstop. I think this is his debut season. It is, yeah. So he didn't really do too much. 0 for 15, but got that experience. Edward Olivares put up solid numbers for a bench guy. So let's see how the pitching. The lineup looks fine. Montgomery, solid year. You know, we gave him some rotation. I mean, he gave us innings, which is important, but not really numbers-wise. Jordan Hicks was horrible. 6 ERA. This might be my last time getting Jordan Hicks, unless I do the Giants franchise and he's just on the team. Maybe I just trade him because he's a curse. I don't know. He's just been horrible. Paul Skeens, not the greatest. Definitely looking for a bounce-back year, but he's still developing. Luis Ortiz bounced back compared to last year for sure. Bailey Falter was not very good. Genesis Cabrera, like I said, you know what you're going to get from guys like him. ERA around where it's usually at. Colin Holderman, solid year. James Karinchak, ERA of 3, satisfied with that. Larry Conchin got a bounce back. That ERA was horrible. Moreta, ERA not bad, just not as good as last year. Estevez didn't give us what we expected. And David Bednar was a hell of a closer for us. 44 saves, only blew 3 of them. So you see the problem is pitching. And we got to get some pitching in this offseason. So let's see who wins the World Series when we get on with this final season and see if we can turn this team around. Again, the Rays defeat the Cardinals to win the World Series. So I'm going to go ahead and get it going with this offseason and let you guys know what the moves look like. Pitching. Like, the rotation isn't bad. I think the rotation can be really good. But the bullpen definitely needs some work. And we might have to spend a little bit of money. Not going to go outrageous. Even though it's the final season to try to at least make the playoffs and do something, Gonna just try to sign a few veterans, maybe help us out in the bullpen, and we'll see how we look at the deadline. So I'll show you guys how the team looks after the free agency period. Made some moves, and Jordan Montgomery ended up accepting the qualifying offer. Our rotation, low key, is looking very solid. We kept Mitch Keller. Michael King we ended up signing for $14.1 million. I didn't think that was outrageous for the Pirates. Coming off a solid year, 12-9 with the Padres. So we get him, Mitch Keller, Montgomery, Johan Oviedo, who was hurt. I forgot about him. He ended up having a solid year last year. And then Paul Skeens to be our fifth star. So we got Manoah and possibly Jared Jones to work the long relief, and even Eric Lauer. And we ended up adding Caleb Ferguson to our bullpen. Look at the year he had last year, 1.69 ERA with the Nats. Could be a really good lefty out of our bullpen. Got to kind of get this figured out. We have a lot of guys who are on this roster who could potentially make the roster. So I got to fix this a little bit, but really good additions. Joey Gallo ended up re-signing. Patrick Bailey and Henry Davis both went up in overall. Gleyber Torres is still here. So really our team looks pretty much the same, just added a few, or at least lineup-wise. I shouldn't say the same. Lineup-wise, we're the same. Pitching, we made some moves, few moves. And we'll see how this season turns out. I mean, this is going to be a very interesting season. Hopefully we can at least make the playoffs. So I'll go ahead and sim to the draft. And even though it won't really matter, just in case you guys care about the draft or who I pick, I'll sim to that. And then we can sim to the trade deadline and see how we're looking. So I will see you guys then. Well, I sim to the trade deadline, right? And look where we're at in the standings. I had so much hope for this damn team this season. We're 49-62 with some of the additions we made. It seems like the Cardinals just running the division, but damn, like, what has went wrong with this team? Let's take a look. Michael King, been very good as our really ace in this rotation. Mitch Keller, pretty much Mitch Keller type season, 4-13 record, though. Whew, man, that's not looking good. Jordan Montgomery, I mean, not really a horrible season. I mean, the ERAs went up about a whole point, but like, Johan Oviedo, solid year. Paul Skeens' ERA went down. Yanoa's having a better season. Holderman's had an ERA. He's pretty much always around the 3.5. Cabrera, pretty much around where he's usually been. Larry Kochman, better year. Still can be better, but better year. Moretta's improved. Karinchak, I mean, it's not a horrible, but definitely not as good as the last few years. Definitely having, you could say, a down year. Caleb Ferguson's been horrible. David Bednar really hasn't had a lot of opportunities to save, but he's had a good year, 2.27 ERA. Is it the lineup? Let's take a look. Brian Hayes about to have a career year. 17 home runs, 62 RBIs, hit almost 300. Jared Trielo, not really a good year so far. Josh Lau, he was hurt, I think, at the beginning of the year a little bit for a while. Not a horrible year. Still going to have a solid year. O'Neal Cruz is having a monster year, 26 home runs, 70 RBIs, at close to 270. Brian Reynolds is having a really down year. That could be a big part of it. He's really supposed to be our go-to guy, or one of them, I should say. Jack Sawinski, not the greatest year. I mean, he's still going to have 20 home runs, but he ain't really doing much so far. Joey Gallo, 20 home runs. He hasn't really been part of the problem. I don't get how his overall is really dropping when he's having a solid year. Henry Davis, about where his numbers usually are. Gleyber Torres, not horrible. Eddie Leonard, not good at all. Smith, Njiba, not really good. Patrick Bailey's been solid. Edward Olivares has been solid. I don't get why this team, I mean, the lineup doesn't look like it's been outstanding, but it's not like guys are playing horrible. Like, I'm like, I would be okay with us being a second or third, but last place with this rotation? That's crazy. Wow. Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to dig ourselves out of this hole. I'll look at the trade deadline and see if there's anything we can really do. But it's looking like this franchise is going to end on a sour note, unfortunately, of us not making the playoffs all 3 years. At least with the Cardinals, I think I made it twice. We might have got bounced in the first round, but at least we made it. But I mean, I might as well just let this play out. I don't really see any moves that we could make is really going to get us out of a 16.5 deficit unless we just go on a major run. I mean, we might as well just keep what we got. I mean, I don't really see what we could do to really change anything. I mean, unless we go out and get like a superstar that just carries us. And I mean, Hung Sung Kim could be that guy, but I mean, we already have O'Neal Cruz who's having a monster year. I mean, Pete Alonso, but Joey Gallo's having a close to a year as him. Not as good in the average department, but crazy. Well, I'm going to go ahead and send the end of the season. We'll see who wins the World Series, and I'll wrap this franchise up. Over, and honestly, we played really good in the second half. We ended up finishing 79 and 83, which we still finished 59 in the division. We didn't end up finishing in last, though, but really, we were looking like horrible. Still didn't finish the year good, but we definitely played better in the second half. Let's see how everybody did before we wrap this up. Brian Hayes, 25 home runs, 84 RBIs, 290 average. Trielo was decent, about where his numbers were last year. Josh Lowe, about where his numbers usually are, 18 to 20 home runs. Average is good, so not really mad at that at all. Neil Cruz had 39 home runs, 284 average, opened 106, slugged over 500. Hell of a year for O'Neal Cruz. Brian Reynolds still put up a solid year, about where his numbers usually are. Jack Sawinski ended up having his career high in home runs. Ended up hitting 261, so good year for Jack. And then Joey Gallo, it's going to be tough for him to, replicate what he did last year. But still hitting 29 home runs, 74 average, and 255. Still very good for Joey Gallo. He was worth every dime we paid him in this franchise. Henry Davis, 13 home runs, career high, 274 average, so that's good to see. Gleyber Torres, about where his numbers usually are, 28 home runs. Patrick Bailey didn't really have a good year offensively. Definitely expected better. Mitch Jebb's been a pleasant surprise. His numbers, his overalls on his offensive attributes aren't really great, but he's been hitting solid for us. Hung Yu Lee, didn't even play, so he was just kind of here to sit in the dugout and chill. Edward Olivares, solid for a backup. Let's see how the pitching did. Michael King was solid. Can't be mad at that at all. Mitch Keller, not a great year, but his ERA is usually around 4 or 5. Jordan Montgomery, definitely not a good year compared to his last 2 years in the Pirates uniform. Johan Oviedo, about where his numbers usually are. Paul Skeens just can't get over that hump. He's given us innings. He's been healthy, but he just cannot get over that 5 ERA. Another 5 ERA year, but he's been giving us innings. Just, I don't know. It's not a good performance this year. Colin Holderman, another good year. He's been reliable out of the bullpen, giving us innings. Good year for Enesis Cabrera. ERA went down. Larry Cotron, better year. Moreta, better year, best year he's had so far besides 2021 with the Reds. James Karinchak, ERA 4.33, can't be mad at that. Caleb Ferguson ended up putting up a solid year. It's going to be hard to replicate last year for him too, but still a solid year. And David Bednar ended up saving 37 games, 2.35 ERA. So let's see who wins the World Series, and we'll wrap this clip up. Let's see. The Astros defeat the Dodgers to win the World Series. And Pirate fans, if any of you are watching, man, I felt like I let y'all down. I didn't even lead y'all to the playoffs. I really felt at least like this roster can make a playoff run. It just didn't happen. So I let y'all Pirate fans down. I apologize. But that'll do it for this franchise. Like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts down below. I'll be doing either the Cubs, Reds, or Brewers next. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this franchise clip. And make sure to like and subscribe. Like I said, enjoy the content.